Hey guys, so the second half of the week, we're not really doing anything new per se, but I did want to go back over the operations with polynomials and then also kind of look at graphs from a different perspective. Um, so, just as a reminder, um, if you don't have a symbol in between two sets of parentheses, that is implying multiplication. And my recommendation for multiplication is to use the box method. So since I'm multiplying a binomial and a trinomial, I'm going to use a 2 by 3 box just to help keep myself organized. Whatever's inside the parentheses, I'm going to put on the outside. So I've got 8x, negative 3, then 8x squared, x, and 6. So I'm going to use this and make sure that 8x multiplies by all three things and that negative 3 multiplies by all three things. So with 8x, I'm going to do 8 times 8 and get 64. And x times x squared is x to the third. And 8x times x is just 8x squared. And 8x times 6 is going to give me 48x. Next, I just want to multiply negative 3 times everything. So negative 3 times 8x squared is going to give me negative 24x squared. Negative 3 times x will give me negative 3x. And then negative 3 times 6 will give me negative 18. So now I just have to combine like terms. This guy's by itself, so I'm just going to bring him down. These are my two x squared, so I add those together and I get negative 16x squared. I add together both my x's and I get 45x. Then he's by himself, so then negative 18 just comes down. And there you go. That is that simplified. Okay. So with the next one, I am combining like terms. Now, since I don't have to worry about since I don't have to worry about distributing the negative, I can just go straight into combining like terms. Remember though that if there is a minus there, you would want to distribute the negative first and then combine like terms. So I'm going to start with the biggest exponent, which is 3, and I have 2 of them. So 6 and negative 7 gives me negative 1x cubed, or just negative x cubed. Next, I have my x squareds. So I have negative 8x and negative 8x, squared. Add those together and I get negative 16x squared. And then last but not least, these two guys, which add together to give me 2x. Remember that when combining like terms, we add the coefficients, but the exponents do not change. Okay. Like I said, that should hopefully be a review from Algebra 1 and shouldn't be too crazy challenging for you guys. So on to the new stuff. So here's where you're given a graph of a polynomial. Okay, so that's what I mean by looking at different. Before we have been graphing. So with this, we are given a graph and we are going to write an equation. So as far as zeros and multiplicities, zeros are your x-intercepts. Can also be called roots. All right, so right here, if you can see that, there's one at negative 5. Okay. And it just goes straight across to the other side. So I'm going to put a C for cross. So I'm doing the same thing as I did last time, except instead of pulling it from the equation, I'm pulling it from the graph. Okay, the next one is at negative 3, and then that is also a cross. Then at 1, I have another cross, and at 4, I have a bounce. Okay. So remember, like if you zoom in, these just crossed to the other side, and at 4, it bounced. Okay. So based on whether it's positive or negative, for that, you want to look at the left side of the graph. Is it going up or down? So since it's going up, that tells me that it's positive. since my end behavior is going in two different directions, that means that this should be an odd function, okay? So you should be able to look at a graph and just know if it's even or odd based on the end behavior, and positive or negative based on the end behavior. So to write an equation, first off, I want to start with y equals. You could also write f of x equals, give it a name if you want, use function notation, that would be fine. But anyway, so I'm going to take my zeros and turn them into factors. Now I said it was positive, so I don't have to put a negative in the front or anything. But just like when I pulled numbers out of factors, when I put them back into the factors, I still have to flip the sign. So the negative 5 turns into x plus 5. Since it's a cross, it would be an exponent of 1, which I don't have to write. The negative 3 turns into x plus 3. And again, it's a cross, so I don't have to write an exponent. Positive 1 turns into x minus 1. And again, it is a cross, so I'm not going to write an exponent. And then the 4 turns into x minus 4. And since it's a bounce, that would be squared. If you need the table that tells you, bounce, cross, whatever, for the polynomial stuff, that would be in the video of week 1B. So if you need to go back and look at that, I strongly suggest you write it down to have as a reference. Okay, so that is all I need to do for that one. I am done. Some people find this easier than graphing, and it's still kind of the same skill, because you're still, transferring back and forth between a graph and an equation. You're transferring, you're connecting the two. But anyway, okay. So with this one, I have another one, and typically they should have arrows, but sometimes when you find graphs somewhere, they don't. What are you gonna do? So for zeros and multiplicity, I'm going to look along the x-axis, and right here at negative 5, I have a bounce. Then at negative 1, I have a cross. And at 4, I have a zigzag. And at 7, another cross. It's supposed to be 7. Okay, so again, whether it's positive or negative is really going to depend on the left side of the graph, because we look at graphs from left to right. So where is it going? Is it getting more positive or is it getting more negative? And since it's going down on the left, I'm going to say that this guy is negative, okay? Because the arrows are going in opposite directions, that is an odd function. So if it'll be even if you ever have end behavior where the two ends are going in the same direction. So for my equation, I'm going to write y equals, and then I'm going to pull my zeros into factors. Because it's negative, I'm going to go ahead and stick a negative in the very front. Okay, so I have x minus 5. Plus 5, because the sign flips. And that was a bounce, so it's squared. Then negative 1 turns into x plus 1, and it's a cross, so it doesn't get an exponent. Positive 4 turns into x minus 4, which was a zigzag, so that's to the third power. And at 7, I do x minus 7, and it was a cross, so there doesn't need to be an exponent. If you want to check yourself, if you add your exponents, 2 plus 1 plus 3 plus 1 would give me 7. So I do, in fact, have an odd polynomial. So anyway, that's the only new stuff we're doing right now, this second half of the week. We will go over this in the live meet. If you have questions, please ask it then. And I hope you guys have a great second half of your week.